Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we have so much to discuss. Let's begin with these hilarious headlines straight out of Team Sussex that really indicate just how threatened Prince Harry has been feeling lately. As you know, Prince William hosted a gorgeous but rainy garden party at Buckingham Palace recently. And yes, there is a garden party fashion edition coming up because Zara was stunning. But Prince William invited all of his cousins to join him, and they showed up. We had Zara and Mike, some of the absolute favorites. We had Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice. Even Peter Phillips were all there in attendance to support him, to support King Charles. It was great. It was a beautiful show of unity. It was wonderful. It was happy and joyful. All looked great. But immediately following this, I noticed a slew of headlines stating that Prince Harry was closer than ever with Eugenie, but the headlines went even further and included Meghan Markle and Princess Beatrice as part of this foursome that was closer than ever before, which is exactly what gave it away as a complete and utter lie from the Sussexes. It's fairly well known that Eugenie has been basically the closest from the royal family with Harry and Meghan, even before things blew up with Harry and Meghan and they left, stormed out, stomping their feet. Eugenie had ties to Harry and Meghan, and growing up, by most people's accounts, Eugenie and Harry were quite close. Out of all the royals, Eugenie is the one who has spent the most time with Harry and Meghan since leaving as well. She was the only one to go and visit them in California, for example, and host them at her home, allegedly, at some point as well. But the same cannot be said for Beatrice. She has never, as far as we know, gone to visit them in California or hosted them at her home or anything like that. And there's never been that same level in terms of their history of connection between Beatrice and Prince Harry necessarily, which makes it an unbelievable statement. Beatrice in particular has been, in the last few months, supporting Prince William and King Charles more and more. And Eugenie seems to be following suit with that. Perhaps the fact that Fergie, their mother, has gone through 2 cancer scares in recent years. Now, King Charles and Princess Catherine are going through similar situation, that it has brought them all much closer, and that Eugenie, if she was ever on the fence, this sort of a situation would probably encourage her to be more supportive of King Charles and her royal family members over Prince Harry, due to her deeper understanding of just how important family support and connection and keeping away the drama is during times like this, because she has just been through it twice over with her mother, whom she is by all accounts very close with, and along with Princess Beatrice, they were very supportive of Fergie during that time. And so it would make sense that Eugenie would want to step towards the royal family groups and Prince William and be there for him, because she has seen all of these struggles firsthand with somebody she loves and cares about very, very much. And her mother has alluded to this very idea recently. She made comments about how important it is. In fact, she's made many comments over the last few years about just how important family connection and family support is during times like that, and how important it is to have family unity and stay close, stick together, stuff like that, especially in light of something as serious as a health struggle. So when Harold and Meg saw all the cousins unified and happy together, even Eugenie, who they thought they had claimed ownership of or allegiance from, showing up to support Prince William, they were extremely threatened by this, and they simply couldn't let it be. The public cannot think that Prince Harry has zero royal family relationships thriving or doing good at all. They can't think that he has zero connections to the royal family. They can't think that. If the public thinks that, then who are Harry and Meghan? Just big fat nobodies trying to do nothing and failing at it all the time. So out came the petty press release. Sources close to the Sussexes claim that Beatrice and Eugenie are closer than ever to the couple. How? What? What is happening? We know this is just not true. Just like how Harry and Meghan clearly don't know how friendship works, they obviously don't know how family works either. Remember in the Wedding Wars video, I'll link it for you here, the evening reception, Harry and Meghan made clear, it came out in the press, that Harry and Meghan were making the evening reception for just their new circle of friends, and the lunch reception was for their old circle of friends. So if you were invited to the lunch reception, you knew that your friendship was now closed. If you were invited to the evening reception, you were to get the hint that you're part of the new friend circle and should now be inviting Meghan and Harry to make friends, whether you want to or not. This revealed them to be super toxic and also bad friends. And similarly, people who are high in narcissism or are rather toxic in their tendencies, like we have seen with Harry and Meghan, just based off their behaviors and comments alone, they sort of seem like the type of people who don't necessarily tend the garden of relationships very diligently, except for when it suits them. If they have something to gain, then they will be very, very nice and friendly and attentive to a relationship. But they're not genuine in their desires for friendship or strong relationship. They'll try some of the time, but it's usually to create an image or to gain sympathy. There's some sort of other motive, or like in this case, to get a public image across that Harry has a strong bond with Eugenie, that he doesn't have no royal family members talking to him. Perhaps Eugenie has been dropped, so to speak, maybe she hasn't hardly heard from Harry and Meghan for a long time now, for all we know. The point is, perhaps Eugenie hasn't necessarily been treated perfectly by Harry and Meghan either, at least not recently, because she served the purpose when she came and visited them in California and got them some press. She was included in some paparazzi shots, probably unwillingly. And that created this image that Harry does still have alliances within the royal family. Now that task was accomplished, perhaps she has been ghosted to some extent. Perhaps she hasn't. Regardless, we have zero evidence that her bond has grown at all, because we've seen her and Harry together not at all recently. There's been no stirrings of them meeting or talking or anything like that. Just all of a sudden, out of the blue, long time since they've even been around one another, their bond is stronger than ever? There's no evidence that their bond has grown, let alone Beatrice's. What nonsense. But clearly all of this got under Prince Harry's skin, and he and Meghan Markle clearly thought that they had Eugenie on their side, so to speak, because they're mad at Prince William and the monarchy in general, and like everybody, I guess. Then Eugenie shouldn't be out there being nice to Prince William either, because Harry won't be nice to Prince William, so why would Eugenie? That's what we just witnessed happening here. So we know this press release is false. It was only released to try to correct the narrative or the optics that basically Harry is the only royal who is sort of outside the circle of trust, so to speak. Harry and Meghan have a serious problem, not only with leaks, but with PR not doing them any favors at all, repeatedly making them look small and petty, weak and childish. But moving on, let's take a look at a few of your comments recently. A couple of you spotted that this palm print dress by Johanna Ortiz is the same design as the New York City faux car chase dress. And it is indeed. It's the same designer, the same design of dress. It's just a different fabric choice. And one of them obviously had the straps removed. People at the time thought that Meghan removed the straps on her own, that the dress was meant to have straps. It was meant to have straps. I recall the pictures. The one looks so much heavier and hangs so much more stiffly than the print, in part due to the fabric, but also because the palm print creates more movement to the eye to kind of contrast that heavier design, more boxy rectangular shape and cut of the dress. The diagonal lines help to reduce that sort of square appearance of the dress. So that's why I think a lot of people didn't pick up on the fact that it is the same style and same designer. Dainty Dina said that in the UK, one publication claimed Prince Harry requested to stay at Windsor and was denied because of its proximity to Adelaide Cottage. And that makes perfect sense. It would also make sense that if Prince Harry couldn't get his way and stay in the spot that he had requested specifically, then he would pout and just be like, well, then forget it, I'll stay somewhere else. Rather than being flexible and normal, he would get mad. So I could see that happening, but I haven't seen many other publications stating that. So what do you guys think? Teresa Bashford has an excellent point. Several other people mentioned this as well, that Prince Harry wanted to bring his own private security or Netflix crews or a photographer from People along with him, and that wasn't going to be allowed. So the offer to stay at a royal residence was for just him and or him with his children, rather than like all these extra people that he was bringing along. And that might have been why he didn't stay. Either way, none of those circumstances change the pettiness and unnecessary comments that he made about, oh, well, I have to stay in a hotel and my dad doesn't have time to see me. He was just being a moody teenager, just super immature and rude and manipulative with his comments, regardless of the reason. And if he did think he was entitled to bring security and Netflix crews and all these other things into a royal residence, that wouldn't make sense either. And it just goes to show the fact that he's so not genuine. It was never about trying to see his dad if he was concerned with bringing all these other like staff along with. Fly on the Wall thinks that Prince Harry is afraid of his father, and that's why he always comes up with a stupid excuse to not see him. Perhaps he's just avoiding consequences of his actions, really. I mean, a lot of people think that Harry got way worse when he got with Meghan, but that he was always kind of this petulant and rude. But even still, I could see, just due to the fact that he's gotten such negative reactions from people that he knows, the general public, people are like, dude, what you're doing is just not right. It's not okay. I could see a part of him understanding that he made poor choices, and despite how much he can rationalize it or the Meg can explain it away for him, part of him may very well recognize how bigly he screwed up. He may recognize the irreparable damage he's caused and feel a tinge of regret for that. So perhaps he is avoiding facing the music, just facing these people as much as possible. He's just trying to avoid the whole thing. Who knows? Karen Lynch thinks it's ridiculous for a child to have to put in a request to meet with their parent. And I agree, but only to an extent. I think a minor child, a young child, of course, should never have to go through any hoops to see their parent because they're not an adult yet. But we're talking about an adult here and the king of the UK. He apparently has never had a cell phone, never ever. So this isn't necessarily new for Prince Harry to need to go through staff or like make real phone calls or send a letter over, because King Charles has always been that way, not liking to have a cell phone around him or do emails and stuff like that. But also as king, Charles has a schedule and his whereabouts managed by staff for very real reasons. There has to be security and drivers and stuff like that in place and staff at the ready for him. So I think that in this scenario, being the king or a queen in a different country, if you're the monarch of a country, that's one of those times that the children just have to accept that they're going to have to put in a request, because that monarch is serving a huge role, a huge duty to the country. So they sacrifice as well. Extraordinary circumstance. So I think that if it weren't such an extraordinary circumstance, it would make sense for Harry to be sort of spiteful or bristle at having to request to see his parent. But in this scenario, I don't think it makes sense for that to be a problem. Please keep your comments coming in. They are always insightful and make for great discussions. But now let's move on to this here clip of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle at the Polo Match in Nigeria. So what do we have here? It is another instance of Meghan trying to get into the middle, just like in this clip, where she's not a polo player. She is not the patron of any polo charity or polo places or anything like that. She has nothing to do with polo. She won't even dress sporty. She is not a sporty person. She's not a horse person. Like, none of this makes sense why she always wants to insert herself into the middle of these things. It's crazy. There was so much discussion around this one where Meghan wouldn't let the lady stay where she was standing next to Harry and wanted her to move under the trophy to be next to her instead. And a lot of you pointed out it was so that Meghan would be in the middle of the picture. And I think that this example right here in Nigeria proves you guys right. So great job. I think you were totally right when you called it. She wanted to be in the center of the picture then, and she got her way. But now it's clear that Harold was not having it this time and did not let her into the middle of the polo stage. As you can see by his face as they walked to the stage, he's already not looking thrilled. And then he gets on stage without her, kind of leaves her behind. And it appears that the other guy motions back towards her, like as if to say, do we want to help this lady up? Because she wears shoes that don't fit, so Meghan Markle always looks like she can't handle walking. But Harry dismisses it, like, no, she's fine, she can do it herself. She's not even invited, but she's coming anyway. That sort of a vibe. Then she comes up on stage, and at first she seeks to stand on this guy's left, like true in the middle. And it's blocked. She's not about to try to interfere between him and I think it was his wife who was coming up next. So she goes behind him and tries to go in between Harry and this man who is clearly kind of one of the hosts of this moment. She takes aim at getting in between Harry and this guy in the middle of the stage. And she motions her arm in this sort of ushering move that she does all the time to sort of motion to Harry to scooch down so that I can be in the middle, and he completely ignores her. She needs to stop doing this motion with her arm anyway. It makes her look bossy, especially when people don't listen to her right away and ignore her. She just looks foolish, like she's trying to be bossy and nobody cares. Nobody cares, Meg. It's unfortunate. And that's exactly what we discussed the last time, that by trying to boss people around, you just end up looking bossy, so just don't boss people around, at least not when you're on camera. But anyway, Harry is simply not having it in this situation. He has zero interest in letting her push her way into the center of the stage. And why should he? She has no role here. But anyway, then she's clearly wearing a dress that's so poorly fitted that she operates the entire time one-handedly. She can't release her skirt or else it'll fly open and flash all the children before her. So she pointlessly passes medals from the woman on her right to Harry, which she didn't need to do that. The lady could reach and give it to Harry just fine. She's just pointlessly passing along for no reason, injecting herself where she doesn't belong, and then doing it badly once again. When will she learn to stop doing this sorts of nonsense? She really should have just stayed out of this one, recognizing that her dress was inadequate to be on stage with a breeze. She should have been like, no, you know what? I think I'll sit here. So she got shut down. She didn't get to stand where she wanted to. Perhaps that's part of why they were so sour. Who knows? They were already souring towards each other. Regardless, it was embarrassing. It was unfortunate. I had to share the clip with you guys. Leave it in the comments what you think. But let's move on to this piece of news. The palace deleted the ill-advised, controversial statement that Prince Harry issued early in his relationship with Meghan Markle, where he accused the press and the public of being unfair towards her when there really weren't any other examples of this. It was a completely irrational statement to make, and it was allegedly quite upsetting to the other people within the royal family due to the unprofessional and unreasonable approach that he took. I really do think that it's wise for the royal family to delete some of these sorts of statements from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's time with the royal family, if for no other reason than the fact that they're no longer relevant to the monarchy at all. They're not representatives of the monarchy, like their nonsense, their drama does not need to be found on the website. These personal, emotional fueled dramas don't need to be tied to the monarchy. They are solely Harry and Meghan's nonsense, so it makes sense for it to be removed. The statement was a bad idea from the start. We discussed it in our 3-part engagement special. I'll link that for you guys. It has a clip of the statement, so if you want to see that statement, you can go and check it out in those videos. But it has come out since the time that the statement was issued, way back, that Meghan fabricated many of these stories of alleged harassment. Even the police in her area that she called had no evidence found of any sort of the claims that Meghan Markle had of being stalked or followed or harassed by paparazzi. Like, it just wasn't happening at all. And the police dismissed it as a false claim. But the motivations beyond just the fact that it's irrelevant Some people are theorizing perhaps Harry and Meghan are indeed separating. And perhaps the royal family is aware of this and thus doesn't want as much of the relationship drama on their website. I'm not as confident in that theory because a lot of times people who are higher in narcissistic traits don't want to let a relationship like this fail. Something this high profile, they wouldn't want to let it fail. Harry wouldn't want to let it fail. And he very much thinks that, his mother or the memory of his mother is intertwined with this relationship, and he's thrown everything away for it. So now it's kind of this, he has to make it work. While Meghan, she didn't have that successful of a career. She hasn't acted in like a decade. She's just Prince Harry's wife. So without that marriage, her prospects for future endeavors would be very slim pickings. So I don't think necessarily that they are full-blown separated. I don't think that their relationship is peachy, but I also don't think that we're looking at a divorce anytime in the immediate future either. But an interesting angle to this entire saga is that part of Harry's discontent has to do with wanting approval for his choices, for Meghan, and for their choices and actions together. It would not necessarily be surprising for somebody higher in narcissism. Things like disapproval or criticism can lead to things like holding grudges, believing that it's all malicious, and really digging in the heels. Because his family all warned him of how quickly he moved with Meghan, everybody encouraged them to go slower, to ease into public duties slower, for Meghan to maybe continue acting. He, and potentially she as well, felt personally criticized by all of this. And because of that, he has developed this mission to get the public to like Meghan, to make people like Meghan more than Catherine, which hasn't worked at all. In fact, the opposite has happened. And the more Harry has made wildly outrageous claims like Meg was better at the job than everybody else, the more people pushed back against that and said, actually, no. The public or who decide is best at the job anyway. But the more he said that and tried to push that narrative, the more the public showed him that she wasn't. Not to spite him, but because it was plainly true. Harry is upset because he wants people to like and celebrate his choices, with Meghan and beyond. He wants people to agree with him, to take his side, which is sort of sad, but it's also just immature. It's something that we all have to grow out of and have grown out of at some point. And that's good. We're supposed to grow out of it. Because in the real world, you'll never be everybody's cup of tea. You are going to fail at some things. You are going to be rejected some of the time. There will always be people who don't agree with you. And you'll never agree with 100% of things with any specific human, even your spouse. So we're meant to learn that it's okay to disagree. It's okay for people to not take our side. This theory is that Harold has missed this lesson or doesn't grasp the concept and is hell-bent on trying to get everyone to agree with him and all of his choices, including Meghan. He's frustrated at all of the criticism and the criticism of him, of her, of them together. It's just upset him more and more rather than him taking a minute to look at it and think perhaps there is some degree of truth to this criticism or value in the criticism. And this has manifested in him trying to control and monitor the press, control the narratives, not allowing real journalists anywhere near them, only those who will exclusively report positively. That's not how press works, and that's not proving anything anyway. That's showing that you behave so poorly that you can't just let the press report on your engagements, because then there'll be like bad things coming out that you need to hide. If you're confident in yourself and in your role and you know you do a good job, then you would know that the press would be grossly misrepresenting you if a negative story were to come out of an engagement or an event. But Harry can't trust that because he and the Meg do make bad choices and mistakes. So they can't just let the press report factually, because then there'll be bad stuff coming up. But I do think that this theory makes some degree of sense. There was even some headlines recently that said Harry is disappointed and frustrated that his family didn't recognize his good work in Nigeria. It's just, he didn't do good work in Nigeria. He looked cranky. He did a bunch of private events. He wasn't there in an official capacity. He didn't dedicate time to charitable work. He didn't get his hands dirty, so to speak. What is there to be proud of? It's sad to think that he just wants recognition and that he has always been so plagued by being the spare. But at the same time, everybody has to just get on with where they're at and what they have. Some people are dealt far more challenging circumstances than Harry or Meghan ever have been. It's obvious. They do not have physical disabilities or health problems that are very severe and challenging. They don't have these sorts of real struggles that most people go through at some point. They don't have those types of challenges. They could have done so much good, and that is why people are so keen on rejecting them, because they had all the potential. People know how much easier they have had it than most people out there. And so for them to be constantly complaining and whining and fixated on, well, I want everybody to like me and everything I do, is just childish and unacceptable. But what do you guys think? Do you think that this is fueling part of Harry's rage, that he's not getting the approval or attention that he wants? As we've discussed previously, had he and Meghan stayed and just invested a little bit more time and patience, then they would have taken center stage and been so hugely valuable by now, during this year where they really could have been helpful and showcased. Instead, they wanted too much too soon and have now dug themselves into a terrible hole. As for the rumors that Harry and Meghan are looking to go visit Ghana next, I am not so sure how official this is. Some of the headlines and articles read like it's already been decided and it's going forth no matter what. But as of right now, there's no actual press releases or signs of this happening for sure at all, from Ghana especially. They have not actually been invited. I think this is another case of Duchess Dior syndrome. Meghan has put this out there hoping that it sticks and hoping that Ghana gets the hint and will then reach out and invite Harry and Meghan. The problem is they have zero excuse or reason to show up there, and this is the exact corner they've painted themselves into. Unless they can claim Invictus, they have no reason to go to any of these places unless they go there and do real work, like help with wildlife conservation or working with a charity out in the field, doing real field work. That's really the only thing they could do at this point to boost their PR too. But as we've all seen, the going under the guise of Invictus was completely ruined by Meghan's antics for Nigeria. So any other country thinking, well, we'll have them come for Invictus, saw how that played out, and I don't think they'd be too keen on doing that in the future either. So they kind of ruined the chances of continuing to do trips that were Invictus connected because Meghan completely stole and overshadowed Invictus news with her nonsense. That is exactly why it was a problem. Please leave your thoughts and comments below. I cannot wait to read them. Thank you so much for joining me for this update. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!